Hello,
Sorry, my mic
hello.
or my servers were banged out there and not letting me unmute. What's up, Ricky? Hey, Dustin.
How you doing?
Yo.
Ready for another
Dude,
exciting Bitcoin news hour?
dude. Just you call it the news hour. I call it the place where I come to cheat. Like I just did not. I'm not able to catch up on all this news. I love copying notes.
Love it. I love it. All right. John, you got my intro handy?
I do. Want to give it another minute or two just to let folks come into the room.
Yeah, let's do it. Folks, if you're just joining us, do us a favor. Click that plus sign in the bottom right and invite all your friends, your family, your enemies, everyone you know. Got a lot of news to talk about today. It's going to be a big one.
And just a heads up, and you'll hear this in the intro in about like 2 minutes, maybe less. A little bit of a specific format we try to keep here. This is the Bitcoin News Hour, and what we try to do here is catch up on the news of the day. It is a bull run, unlimited amounts of news. We almost feel like desensitized by the amount of crazy news coming out every day, mostly bullish. And today, obviously, is big news day for a lot of obvious reasons. But all you need to do is follow Justin's lead there. He changed his avatar to a news headline. Come and share what that Bitcoin news headline is. Perhaps give us the TLDR in about a minute or two. After that, the panel will discuss it for no more than 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll move on to the next story, and we'll all learn from each other and have a good time and catch up on the news in not 8 hours, but 1.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour, brought to you by Cafe Bitcoin, the most active Bitcoin club on Clubhouse. During the Bitcoin News Hour, we will cover all the latest headlines in Bitcoin. But this isn't your normal network news show where they talk and you just listen. Today's headlines will be presented and discussed by you, the members of Cafe Bitcoin. To participate in the Bitcoin News Hour, simply change your avatar to the headline you'd like to talk about. Today's moderators will then bring you up from the audience. You'll get 1 to 2 minutes to introduce the headline and give everyone the gist of the story. And then everyone will discuss the news before we move on to the next headline. Now, before we get started, do us a favor and click the plus sign at the bottom right of your screen to invite anyone you know who might enjoy this show. And if you're new to Cafe Bitcoin, click on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left and join the club. You can also visit cafebitcoin.club to find our full schedule of events, as well as a fantastic list of beginner Bitcoin resources. And now, get your headlines ready because it's time for the Bitcoin News Hour.
All right, guys, let's get started. Brecky, I love that intro so much. I almost thought about playing it twice, but that would have been not a good use of time.
Well, maybe we can play it in the middle if we get a lot of new people.
No, the outro is good, but I do want to consider, and we can talk about this some more. But I think there is a thirst for some podcast material, not just the Great Lily Knight material that you gave the other day, which is awesome because I love her. But we got a lot of great podcasts. It's hard to keep up. I know you and I've talked about this in the past. I mean, we're so behind on some of our favorite podcasts. It's like there's only so many hours in a day, and so there's some really great great take. I think we should consider maybe figuring out a way to get that sent to us, and perhaps before the show, we can include some of those in perhaps the Bitcoin News Hour. But we can talk about that later. Let's talk about the news of today. A lot of awesome news. We'll go ahead and kick it off with Justin. Justin, tell us about the news story and tell us why it's important.
Sure. So very difficult to find some non-Coinbase related news today, but Forbes today was actually holding their 3rd annual Blockchain 50 symposium. A lot of notable names and heavy hitters in attendance. And some notable things that came out of it. The PayPal CEO said that they're going to hit 200 million in crypto transaction volume within the next few months, which is pretty big. As well, there was a poll conducted amongst the attendees. 500 respondents said that, so out of the 500 respondents to the poll, 26% expect their company to purchase Bitcoin, which is huge. Michael Saylor said when he spoke that was the mic drop moment. And a couple of the really notable companies in attendance. Walmart had representatives in attendance, Visa, Onyx, JP Morgan, Fidelity, a few companies, Russian companies and South African companies. But to me, the one that really stuck out was LVMH, mainly because it's run by Bernard Arnault. And I feel like the companies that have, one guy or a small group of people that are really in control of the company are going to be the ones that are the first that are able to jump into Bitcoin and are willing to do that. And he certainly is a notable name for me. And I think we'll hear more from him coming up soon.
Team, I am struggling here with, I don't know if it's me or if I'm getting server errors, and so I apologize. And for mods, if you see me stuck, feel free to jump in. So I'm trying to unmute myself, and I'm getting a server error. I might jump out and jump back in here, but anyone want to comment on that particular story? Justin, thank you so much for sharing, by the way.
I feel like a broken record. I don't have much to say, just that I agree. I think
Giga Chad.
it's the year of finding. It's the year of adding Bitcoin to your balance sheets, and if you don't do it, you're going to get left behind. So, more bullishness to come.
Can I make a quick take, especially for those who perhaps have a personal account and a business account? There's no better feeling than smash buying on both. It's like you get twice the serotonin. So add it to your balance sheet if for no other reason to get more serotonin when you're hitting the smash buy button. Justin, man, quick hint to everybody in the audience. Always love Giga Chad news. Very partial to Giga Chad news. Always feel free to share that. Dustin, talk to us about what you've learned today about the word blockchain, apparently, and figure out a way to make it important.
Well, this is super, super important. So I dug through the original code base as first revealed by Satoshi Nakamoto. And in it, he refers to blockchain as two words with a space in the middle. So anybody using it as one word is obviously a fraudster, aka like all of the shitcoiners. So there you go.
Love it, folks in the audience. By the way, come on, this is audience participation here. It doesn't work without all of us doing this. So go and look up a news article and join us on stage. I'm calling you out. Yeah, you right there in the audience. I see you.
Are we sharing news stories? I can share one.
Yes, Aaron, if you could, let's. We're trying to stick to a very particular format here. So change your avatar to the headline so everyone can kind of see what you're referencing. And then also for anyone who is sharing headlines, we're doing our best to share the links to the articles in the companion Telegram chat that we have, and you can find that link in the group description or in my bio as well. Oh, and folks,
you guys, and Brecky, I'm struggling to tell. So I can't. I'm trying to refresh my screen and get an error. So I don't know if the people that are in the queue are actually have changed their avatar. So just want to make sure you guys have changed your avatar to the news story that you want to present. And Brecky, maybe you can, and Dustin or Aaron, Paul, if you guys don't mind, help me pull people up that actually have a avatar updated to the news headline. Thank you.
I'm on it.
No problem. I was just going to say that as well. If you're in the audience as well, go ahead and refresh your screen every now and then so you can see when people are changing it. Dina, we're going to bring you... Oh, somebody brought you up already. Perfect. All right, who wants to go next? Shannon, why don't we go with you?
So I just saw this 10 seconds ago, popped it up. It's interesting. So obviously we can watch all the wallets, and any wallets of note we can pay attention to, like watching Satoshi's wallet. So the 10,000 BTC hack from Bitfinex in 2016, those coins are moving. So maybe that person will get caught because they're going to try to go to exchange and sell them for dollars.
Yeah, I just saw that I saw Whale Watch tweeting basically that same headline, literally a minute before we opened the room. Found that to be interesting. Any other details in that story, Shannon? I have not been able to click that link.
I didn't read it yet. I just saw it.
Oh, read the article, guys. What are you doing?
I'm too slow. I can't read.
Somebody read the article and actually come and explain it to us. But go ahead, Brecky, for your take. But on what we already sorted.
Well, I was going to invite Will up to the stage to be one of our commentators today if he's around. Will, come on up, buddy. Hope you're here.
By the way, for that, I mean, I was just adding up the whale alert numbers, and it seems to be on the order of $300 million, if my math is correct.
620 million.
Okay, my math was incorrect then.
By the way, we can do some Coinbase news. I mean, it is Coinbase Day. We kind of have to talk about it. It's the giant shitcoin elephant in the room. So if somebody wants to grab
I have
one of those
something
headlines.
that's kind of related to that. So I listened
Did I discourage people from the Coinbase news? Go ahead, Dina. I'm sorry.
I think you might have,
No
John.
problem.
Thanks, Dina.
I'm sorry, team. Go ahead.
I
Team.
do not
Go ahead.
feel discouraged. This
Go
is
for
sort
it.
of indirectly about Coinbase. So I listened to the Wall Street Journal podcast, like semi-daily, just as a quick way of catching up on what's happening in the mainstream news. And so they talked about the Coinbase IPO today. And what stood out to me is that I'm not sure if they use the word crypto at all. They definitely refer to Coinbase as the largest Bitcoin exchange, and they said that like at least twice. And since like we're so commonly, like dealing with the opposite, where people are referring to like the general like crypto space, and hopefully is indicative of how seriously they perhaps they understand that their audience cares more about Bitcoin than like the general crypto space. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I think it has to do with the smart money is in Bitcoin. So that's what they're appealing to.
Hey, I wanted to welcome Brad up to the stage, in case he'd like to be one of our commentators today. Brad always has a good perspective. How are you doing, buddy? Any thoughts on the lack of crypto usage, but instead using the word Bitcoin around the Coinbase listing?
You mean like he's using the word Bitcoin instead of crypto this time?
Dina, could you refresh everyone on that real quick?
Yeah, sure. So the Wall Street Journal podcast that just talks about general news covered the Coinbase IPO today, and I'm not sure if they used the word crypto at all, but they definitely used the word Bitcoin multiple times. So it was just very interesting that they were marketing Coinbase to their audience as
Hey, just
like a
think,
Bitcoin
Brad, like
platform.
Brian Armstrong didn't say Bitcoin for like 2 years. It's crazy. Go ahead,
Well,
Brad.
today, like 30 minutes ago, Brian Armstrong just did a tweet like talking about the origins of Coinbase, and he started off with his typical like Coinbase logic of using Bitcoin and squeezing as much SEO juice and affinity juice out of Bitcoin, and then immediately using like master manipulation tactics to shift the conversation to crypto and open finance and all this stuff. So he uses it when it's convenient. Like obviously the spotlight's on Coinbase right now, and Bitcoin has the Lindy effect, and he just uses Bitcoin when it's convenient, when he knows that Bitcoin will get him like reputation. And then, he switches over to crypto and talking about Web3 and things like that. So it's not surprising. They'll use Bitcoin when it's convenient, and then they'll just go back to what they do, which is mostly supporting altcoins and buying DeFi coins. And
Yeah, and just to clarify, this was not Coinbase talking about themselves.
She's talking
This
about how the
was
news was covered.
the news was covering the IPO, and they were talking about it as a Bitcoin related.
Yeah, I mean, some of the people in the
event.
news think that NFTs are Bitcoin, so it's not surprising.
Hey, folks, welcoming up one more commentator. We got Bruce Fenton here today. Thanks for joining us, Bruce. We'd love to hear your opinions on the various news stories that we're sharing.
Yeah, I mean Coinbase is the big one. I think the thing that I would comment on most is just how impressive the execution is. I think I hear what Brad was just saying, and I know there's plenty of criticism, but I think you got to give somebody props if they can just execute. And I think I have more of a like a very free market view that it all kind of works out. All of the different things that Coinbase has done, and you can certainly criticize some of the things they've listed or whatever, but I feel like it just all kind of helps, even projects that fail or whatever, all of that is a learning experience. The bad things of 2017 were, mainly resulted in a lot of learning experiences and improvements. And I think that's how these markets will develop. And I'd see Coinbase going into other areas of finance and, probably becoming a large and important company that overall is a net benefit. And maybe it's a stepping stone. There's certainly probably better models out there that will come along. But I think it's really exciting. So I think it's huge news. I think this will go down as, I don't know if it'll go down in the history books, but at least some certain geek history books.
Definitely, Bruce. I agree with you on the free market principles there. The one thing I will add to what you were saying though is I can see them as learning experiences if we actually learn from them. And what I'm seeing these days is that most people are learning these lessons for the first time. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as we move forward. And just real quick, I wanted to do a quick refresh for anyone who's just joining us. If you pull down your screen to refresh, you'll see everyone who's up on stage has a news headline as their avatar. This is a audience participation format. So if you'd like to share a headline pertaining to Bitcoin, please change your avatar to that headline and raise your hand. And one of the mods will bring you up today. So thank you.
Aaron, do you want to jump in with your story?
Yeah, and I'll keep it quick. So just noting today that Grayscale, Barry Silbert, is disclosed that he has $49 billion in assets under management, 40 of which is in the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, GBTC, which means that Silbert custodies 3.6% of Bitcoin.
That's a lot. But all joking aside, yeah, I think the real interesting news is really going to see how they play into this ETF market. And I think, there have been a lot of news stories in the last few weeks, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty there. But I might jump into some of my story here while we're at it, and I'll jump before anyone wants to comment on it. I'm on the quest of seeing that our friend Gary Gensler, I call him our friend only because he taught blockchain technologies at MIT, was confirmed to the SEC today. And so, I just see the tie on what's going on with the ETFs really, really going to be perhaps a swing vote now, as I understand it. And I think that this might be, good news for additional market participants, additional competition, additional exposures of flavors that I think Giga Chad explained in this room not too long ago. So, yeah, I'm really excited for seeing what that might bring to the market, Aaron. And I think they have a pretty big head start. So, pretty interesting stuff. Not sure if anyone wants to comment on Aaron or my story.
Yeah,
John, this is
Gensler.
Jason.
Yeah, just real quick, Jason. So yeah, we have Gensler broadly voted in along party lines. 2 Republicans didn't vote. Vote came after the Senate Banking Committee endorsed Gensler's nomination. Yep. The SEC's board commissioner said they welcome Gensler back to public service and look forward to working together to execute our vital mission. He formerly worked at Goldman Sachs, of course. The revolving door continues. He does have a rights to his course that he still serves, I think, digitally at MIT or something like that. So yeah, I think it's going to be generally positive, and I think an ETF is on its way.
Hip hip hooray! Anyone else want to chime in on this? I think this is bullish news. I'm excited about it.
It's
I
probably
would
good
just say
for.
I think it
Oh, go
goes
ahead.
to the point. Yeah,
SEC.
sorry, Bruce, but just real quick, the confirmations of people like this in government, should really dispel. I mean, I've heard just an increase in volume of kind of Bitcoin FUD around when governments will ban Bitcoin. I think that generally comes when we have a huge influx of like totally brand newbies who've never explored Bitcoin or this space before. They immediately jump to that kind of critique, and more of these kinds of reports of confirmations of people in these positions and people getting elected who are vocal Bitcoin bulls just goes to dispel that FUD very nicely. So hopefully we won't have to deal with that being recycled too much more.
Yeah, I think it's another pin in the coffin for sure. Additional understanding that factor of risk is just probably not the same. Go ahead, Brecky. I didn't mean to cut you off. I think
Oh no,
Jason was trying to talk too.
yeah, no, I was about to ask him if he had something to say.
Oh, I was just going to say, so I mean, the insiders that know Gensler I mean, he's a bulldog, and once he decides on something that he wants to happen, you can pretty much be sure he's going to make it happen. So he's very strong in his beliefs, and it seems like one of the arguments that's already been brought up to him is with things like the Grayscale trust and some of the discounts and premiums is the equity that a Bitcoin ETF would provide the overall market in looking for exposure to Bitcoin. So he, not only does he understand it, but he's been a CFTC leader before. So in his role as SEC, I would just look for any signs he starts to bring up when he's asked about a Bitcoin ETF, and if there's a sort of a direction in his mind where he quotes something or says, "Yeah, I think that's a good idea" or something, you can bet it's probably going to happen this year. Because once he gets going, he's like a bulldog. People know that about him. You can't change his mind, and he'll literally get like his roll up his sleeves and get involved in the project if it's not going as fast as he'd like.
That's interesting take, Jason. I appreciate you sharing that. Anybody else want to chime in on that before we move on? I think I think you got a chance to build, or Bruce, did you
Just had a comment
want
on
to comment?
Aaron's story.
By all means.
So I mean, based on like the GLD, I mean, I would think that GBTC is going to overtake the GLD in market cap like pretty soon.
Let's go.
I mean, wasn't it yesterday that Bitcoin entered the top 10 money supplies, M1 money supplies? Was that yesterday that we saw that? I think it was.
Not sure if you
Yeah,
guys can hear me.
totally agree. The ETF approval, if and when it comes, will be transformative for the market cap of Bitcoin. And of course, this has been heralded for so long that I'm sure that most of the news is already kind of baked in. But as we've seen with GLD and other major ETFs, the ability for passive flows to come into these products, which are price agnostic, is going to be very important going forward. And also the listing of that ETF as in the United States, approved by the SEC, and on either the New York Stock Exchange or the NASDAQ will also allow certain types of investors, very large investors and institutions, to buy Bitcoin that are currently unable to buy. So it will be very
Hey,
positive.
Aaron, can I ask a leading question maybe that you might want to explain a little further to folks in the audience that may not have understood the price agnostic component to why that passive flow is, like what you mean by that more specifically and why that's important? I'm not sure that perhaps a newer person might understand why that's important.
Yeah. So when you have a retirement account or a 401k, or you have some sort of, you put your funds with a money manager and he promises to say, okay, I'm going to give you, 10% REITs, 10% bonds, 10% stocks or whatever. And they have this allocation. That money manager or that institution that is managing your retirement account will not want to be going out individually picking stocks, but rather investing in sectors. And they usually invest in sectors by way of ETFs or mutual funds. And so when money comes in, as people enter the workforce, as they earn money in their job, money is simply going into these funds, and then the fund buys more of the ETFs or other products of the mutual fund. It's a very simple equation. You earn money, you put it into the retirement account, and they buy. It's not really a matter of buying it. There's no stock picker out there trying to find you
You're
the
not
best
buying a
entry
dip,
point.
right?
You're not buying the dip. It doesn't matter what the price is. You're buying a certain percentage allocation every single day or every single month or whenever the paycheck comes in. So that price agnostic, what we call passive money flows, it just is dripping into the system every day, and it buys, never sells. That has contributed to the outperformance of a lot of the index weighted the stocks that are heavily weighted inside of these products, inside of the mutual funds and the ETFs, benefit from these passive flows disproportionately to other stocks or other products that are not included in those mutual funds and indices and ETFs. So when Bitcoin becomes able to be bought by these passive flows, you have just kind of a drip of money always coming in buying, no matter what the price is, and that's the effect that could benefit Bitcoin and has already benefited all index products in the major ETFs in a way that doesn't exist when it's not part of that passive. That it doesn't benefit from those passive flows.
Yeah, this is where I've been centrally focused, really since probably August of last year, personally, and just understanding that when the average like Accenture employee who's like already forecasted a certain amount of money spent, like you're not convincing them, like it's like the most passive way to orange pill someone. They don't even know it's what's in their vial. Like it's to me like no one is married to like the Vanguard 2020 when they're like going and filling out um, whatever their 401k plan is for that given year or when they're getting hired. And it's just like, to me, that wall of money that just comes in by people that know or don't know, like that changes it. And then when you start to look at what happened in Canada with their ETFs, it's like, to me, like you got to recognize that there's got to be an order of magnitude or two different level of inflow with an American approved ETF. And I don't think that, Gary joining the or leading the SEC is going to hurt that. I think, at worst, it's net neutral. And at best, it's incredibly bullish. And this might be the tipping point. And I think that might be the greater tipping point. So enough of my voice. I'll try to moderate more than to dictate. But this is one of the stories that I've been trying to follow pretty closely over the last, quite frankly, almost 9 months or so. Brecky, I think our good friends probably need a quick reminder. They're probably, if you're just walking in the room for the first time and you're seeing all these weird avatars, this is the Bitcoin News Hour. We're going to be doing this Monday through Thursday. There's some crazy news on Friday. We'll do that too. The name of this game is pretty simple. We're trying to cheat off each other so we don't have to all read every news story because there's too damn much of it. All of our podcasts are behind, all our Clubhouse, work, kids, right? So this is kind of a group hive mind. Come up. Share a story. Before you do that, change your avatar to the headline of that story. Explain it in 1 or 2 minutes. The group will discuss it hopefully for only about 3 or 4 minutes. We'll try to cover about 10, 15 stories in an hour, get all caught up and get back to work. Thanks for joining us all. And feel free really quickly to hit the plus sign if you want anyone else to join on the homework cheating here. But I think Justin went, Shannon went, Dina went, Anthony, I believe you're next, man. Tell us a little bit about the Coinbase news. It's the news of the day, and tell us why it's important and what you learned in that article.
Hey guys, so the article should actually read Coinbase continues its douchebaggery, but you can see how the company, just in the headline of the article, Coinbase says it's the Bitcoin investment for people afraid to buy Bitcoin, that they're playing off of that whole FUD volatility, just everything. Like, we're safe. If you're interested in all the price gains of Bitcoin and all this, all the money that's being made, but you want something safe, you can just buy us. And this narrative is really strong. I've had, in the past 2 or 3 days, like anybody I know who has any interest at all has asked me about buying Coinbase. And then I gotta explain, like, well, if what you're trying to do is, save money and build wealth, why don't you just buy the thing? And Coinbase actually doesn't make its money off of Bitcoin. They don't hold that much Bitcoin. They make money off of fees, all this sort of thing.
Yeah, I think this has sort of been covered, at least from that level of understanding where Coinbase is. It's not a Bitcoin company, at least in my opinion and others. I'm not sure. Does anyone else want to share some thoughts? It is the news of the day. Let's talk about it.
I mean, I do just think that that misconception is kind of dangerous, and there's going to be people who like buy Coinbase thinking that they're buying Bitcoin, and they're going to miss out.
Yeah, I've been wondering, like, if they sold all their Bitcoin for Bitcoin Cash back in the day, because it's just so weird how little Bitcoin they have today.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Armstrong's, we know what side of the block size wars he was on, and $130 million position is what they disclosed in their their disclosures, and you're looking at 100 billion, 150 billion dollar. I don't know where they're at the given moment, but that's just a crazy small amount. I think for most people that also recognize that they know what Bitcoin is. So, not sure if anyone else wants to weigh in before we move on to the next news story of the day. Bitcoin News Hour. We're hanging out, learning about the news of the day. Change your avatar to a headline. Raise your hand. Come on up and educate us. Anthony, thank you. Dave, you're up next, man. What's up, buddy?
Hey guys, thanks a lot for calling me up to the stage here. Just a couple of things, and I'll drop these in the Telegram as soon as I figure out how to join that chat. The first thing that I was looking at is actually a couple days old, but I'm in cybersecurity. That's my core business, and I've been looking at just security in general for blockchain and Bitcoin. And a couple of days ago, UC Berkeley partnered with Anchain to build a cryptocurrency forensics and security training. So I'm really interested in the fact that higher education is now starting to invest in the idea of blockchain in general and securing Bitcoin. And then the other thing I wanted to just draw your attention to is the comments by Peter Navarro, that China is trying to dominate blockchain, and he said China probably already knows how to crack into crypto Bitcoin, so it can be disrupted there. So I just wanted to ask your guys' opinion on kind of those two concepts. So cybersecurity for blockchain, which I think is interesting. More and more people are starting to publicize that, and then also the threat to that by nation state actors in China.
Thanks, Dave. Before anyone comments in on that story, if you guys don't mind, go to t.me /Bitcoin Clubhouse to post your links in that. Put the story links there just so everyone who's not able to join here can catch the most relevant stories. But Dave, thanks for sharing. Anybody want to comment in on that?
Yeah, so I think the comment was that China can already crack using its quantum computers the cryptography of Bitcoin or something like that, which is totally false. It's decades, if not, it's decades away. They are a large investor in quantum computing, but they have very rudimentary machines currently that are very unstable, that require near zero temperatures, and it's very experimental at this point. They are hiring, they are trying, as is the United States, as are many other countries. Once quantum computers actually come online and can do meaningful things within 5 or 10 years or so, they will, they will change various things, the security of all computer networks around the world, not especially Bitcoin. We're talking about just like logging into all of your financial accounts, all of the banks, all of the security, everything connected to the internet, basically everything with a passcode, quantum computers will be affecting. So it's not particularly a Bitcoin threat. I'm not sure where that's coming from. It's just a general cybersecurity threat that is very, very well known and very well researched. And there's a ton of plans to improve, to make quantum resistant security, both in Bitcoin, that Bitcoin core community is very aware of this, but also in all the other industries that are going to be affected as well.
Yeah, I prefer not address the FUD. In fact, I admittedly was trying to respond to some stories and get the stories posted on the Telegram channel. And, this is just really, really common FUD. If you're spending any amount of time in these rooms, you probably hear it debunked probably 3 times an hour. I would encourage you guys to do some serious thinking about this particular piece. But, the short and long of it is the answer solved. It's really expensive to solve it, and it's not really a threat yet. So defending against something that doesn't make sense to defend against is stupid, and recognizing that it's not a real vector is just not real. But Dave, don't worry on me. I appreciate you joining. I'll make sure to go ahead, Dave.
So John, I think, and I'm sorry, I probably presented that clumsily. I think for me, being in cybersecurity, and that, that's how I've made the money that I'm dumping into blockchain or into Bitcoin. Sorry, and I've kind of become a more of an advocate after listening to you guys a lot. I think my point is that a couple days ago, hearing from UC Berkeley and Anchain, who seems to be a player in in kind of the consulting security piece of the space. I'm excited about the fact that there's a new market that's being opened up for my particular industry focus, that we are paying attention, and that as as technology improves, it's as important for us to pay attention to securing Bitcoin as it is to supporting the investment
Fair.
in other ways. And I think that's an interesting evolution.
Appreciate you helping to clarify that. Thanks so much. Dustin, you want to jump in?
Hey, Dave, it sounds like you said blockchain as if it was one word. Can you clarify that it's two words?
Haha, blockchain. I
Thank
meant
you. Thank you.
I meant to say Bitcoin. Apologies.
Apologies accepted. Ready to move on. Sophie Ann, the
Hey
Canton
guys.
Casino will accept Bitcoin payments. Is that what I'm reading there? Tell us more.
Yeah, exactly. So I live in Switzerland, and well, that's just the next step. A few months ago in Canton Zug, we were able to pay our taxes in Bitcoin, and that's now the second state of Switzerland which accepts payment in Bitcoin. And this time it's just for like daily stuff that you can pay the state, like if you renew your passport or stuff like that, you can pay now in Bitcoin. So that, I thought that addressed maybe what Will said earlier of governments banning maybe Bitcoin. So if you hear that again, you can just tell them, yeah, in Switzerland they are paying taxes and everything to the government in Bitcoin, and even healthcare insurance we can pay in Bitcoin here. So yeah, next step, the second state accepting payments in Bitcoin here. Another happy news during the all-time highs.
Love to hear it. Hey, John, do you remember, did we cover the headline I have yesterday? It's from yesterday, but it's a really interesting one. So if we haven't covered it, I'd like to go into it.
I think Amanda may have presented it, but Brecky, I got to be honest, in a bull run, every day is like 6 days. So maybe, maybe not, bro. Like maybe. My answer is maybe. Why don't we go for it again? Because I think it's probably good enough and relevant enough news. So go for it.
No worries, I'll do it quickly. So, Janet Yellen, Bitcoin and crypto fearmongers get pushback from former CIA director. Bitcoin just received a strong vote of confidence from an unlikely source, a former acting director of the Central Intelligence Agency. In so doing, he put senior government officials who issue public warnings about Bitcoin's alleged use by criminals, such as Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, on notice. I got to interrupt my reading there because the way they phrase that sentence is so funny. It makes it seem like Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen is a criminal. Anyway, Michael Morell, a 33-year-old veteran of the agency, published an independent paper commissioned by the newly formed lobbying group, the Crypto Council for Innovation, whose founding members include Coinbase, Fidelity Digital, and Square, directly refuting this well-traveled narrative. In an expansive study, Morell came to two key conclusions that all of us already knew. The broad generalizations about the use of Bitcoin in illicit finance are significantly overstated. Blockchain analysis is a highly effective crime-fighting and intelligence gathering tool. All right, we'll gloss over that one. This is super, super interesting to me. I'm really glad to see it, that there are some level-headed minds in government. We were touching on this with some earlier headlines. So if anyone has any thoughts, I'd love to hear them.
Yep, from what I can tell, Janet Yellen doesn't pass or sign laws. So glad to hear it.
I think the part you glossed over is maybe, not the most important part of the story, but it's certainly a subtly important part of the story. The fact that intelligence agencies and former bigwigs in the alphabet soups are fully aware of the surveillance potential of Bitcoin to some degree anyway. And for me, that just highlights the importance of the need to activate upgrades like, Schnorr and Taproot and so on and so on, and further, improve the Lightning Network and other scaling technologies that allow for more privacy. for this technology. So I think, yeah, I understand totally why Brecky would gloss over that, but I think, just to kind of like highlight it a little bit, our big boss is still ahead of us.
Yeah, it is. It is act for now. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Bitcoin's an open source. Open source. It is open source, but it's an open ledger that anyone can view. Cash is better for criminal transactions if you're a criminal, I guess. But it's almost like it's a Trojan horse right now. We can appease regulators if they realize that they think they can do some surveillance, which I guess for now they can. But privacy improvements are on the way, so it's a good thing too.
Yeah, I think that was a worth repeating story. Thanks, Brecky. Anyone else want to chime in on there?
Well, I just had one thought more, and that is that, Brecky brings up that it's open source. And I think that is so key to, whatever algorithms we're dealing with, whether it's social media algorithms or, hashing algorithms or any of this kind of stuff, that this is open source is so important. It creates the cat and mouse game that we need in order to adapt, to encroachments on civil liberties of the people using these networks. And without that feature, the open source nature of the protocol and everything else involved, it's kind of like a done deal. It's the end game would be over, in terms of locking down the users of these networks. So the fact that it is open source, it means no matter what sort of optimizations the powers that be may be able to do for surveillance, I think history will continue to rhyme, and the maintainers of these open source protocols will be at least one step ahead, if not more, and in perpetuity in this kind of cat and mouse game of surveillance and control and freedom and creativity and so on.
Appreciate it. Really quickly, guys, have a bunch of folks jumping on stage at the Bitcoin News Hour. The name of the game is real simple. Trying to cover as much news as we can in an hour, all Bitcoin related news. If you have a story, go ahead and post it in the Telegram group. I believe it's t.me/Bitcoin Clubhouse. Brecky, can you check me on that? I have not worked that intro out as well.
No worries. That is correct. T.me/Bitcoin Clubhouse. I'll be dropping.
So yeah, please appreciate it. So if you have a story or shared a story, please feel free to jump on Telegram and add that for us. And then if you're in the crowd, you want to share some of the news that you read today that you find interesting in and around the Bitcoin world, feel free to jump on stage, raise your hand, but please change your avatar first so we can pull you up. I believe, Cal, are you next? I'm refreshing my screen here, but it's not actually refreshing. Cal, is that you?
I think so. I'll go unless somebody's for me. So yeah, I mean, going back to Brecky's point, I think that article it definitely deserved a second look, and also it's just so funny to me because I think I read somewhere that in American currency, like the $20 bill has so many traces of cocaine on it, and I think it was a study done in the '90s, and they keep doing the study and they keep finding drugs. So it's just a hilarious point that needs to be brought up again. And then my article is this morning. It's on something called the Block Crypto. Frank Chaparro, Goldman Sachs CEO, talks Bitcoin and cryptocurrency during earnings call. So I didn't have a chance to join the call, so I don't have primary information. But the quote from David Solomon, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, is central banks are looking at digital currencies, working to apply this technology to the local markets and determine the longer-term impact on global payment systems. Also, significant focus on cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, where the trajectory is less clear as market participants evaluate their possibility as a store of value. So it's not the most bullish statement, but it's pretty bullish, especially coming from Goldman Sachs. If they spend 2 minutes discussing this on their earning call, it's going to move over some of that old money into this industry. So that's my article for today.
Thanks, Cal. Anybody want to discuss that? Yeah, I find that to be interesting news, Cal. I know there was some confusion on it, so you might see my story. I believe is there might have been some misattributed quote in particular that I think was discussed in and around Clubhouse. I invited the person who sent me the story on stage, so if they want to come up and help, I'm clear that. But generally, they were discussing Bitcoin, but I think the very specific statement around um, inevitable path to gold's market cap was actually a cross story with Mike. Go ahead, Cal or Aaron. I see you guys.
Yeah, I think the misquote, because this story came out like 10, 11 a.m. And so the misquote early in the morning was that David Solomon spoke about gold specifically. Again, I don't have a copy of that earnings call, so I can't confirm what he said or not. But yeah, it's there.
Yeah, also Goldman has previously said that Bitcoin is not an asset class, and it is now saying that it's a wonderful asset class. So that's interesting to see Goldman evolve. Also, Goldman recently followed up with a Morgan Stanley announcement that it was offering Bitcoin to its institutional clients, that Goldman would also offer Bitcoin to its institutional clients, and it would offer a range of products, including directly buying Bitcoin through its OTC desk and various products like the NYDIGS product or Galaxy's product. So we're seeing tit for tat. The banks in New York are looking to make as much money from relationship fees, management fees, all kinds of products, securitizations, packaging, whatever you want. We are going to package and deliver it for you and make it as wonderful as possible. And we will continue to do what Wall Street has always done, earning a little vig on that every single year and taking, if we were an asset manager 2 and 20 on that. So I think this is going to continue. I see it's very positive. I think all the banks are going to get involved eventually.
And this is probably the least interesting news of the day because as recording, let me just say that Goldman Sachs is not really relevant. I mean, it is because they have a lot of old money and their institutions and all of that. But I think the thesis behind Bitcoin is to remove these kind of lazy, overpaid middlemen. So I could care less that they're finally jumping on, I wouldn't even say jumping on their train. They're just kind of easing themselves into a position so where they're not embarrassed when they start what's the terminology you guys use, stacking sats and smash buying, right? They're going to have to do that with their assets because their assets are it's fiat. So I think they understand that and they will contribute to their own downfall.
Awesome, Cal. Appreciate it. Hey guys, we got about 12 more minutes at the top of the hour, so I went ahead and closed the raise hand function because we've got about looks like 4 or 5 more stories to cover before the end of the hour. But welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour. If you're just joining us, we'll be doing this Monday through Thursday. Feel free to join us. You probably noticed that our avatars are looking kind of funny. We're really just trying to cover all of the news without having to read all the news in this format. So if there's an interesting Bitcoin news story you catch that day, feel free to join us at 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern. We've been going the full hour almost every day, Brecky. I know we've probably maybe only 1 or 2 days have not gone the full hour, but we'll be here from 4 to 5, and we'll love to entertain and share as much news as we can and catch up before dinner time. I believe
I've got one, John.
I think we covered that story before you jumped in, Will. That was the only reason I was going to go to Shelley, who I can't read the entire headline. No worries. Do you want to add? I don't know if you were here earlier, but since we did cover that, we'll probably jump in on Shelley's story, and then we'll go to Mav, Aaron, and Becca. If we have time, I'll talk about the Kimchi premium bubble that I find a little interesting and funny. Shelley, what's up? Welcome.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I like to find the news articles that are a little bit more lighthearted and fun. I found a fun one yesterday, and today this one was regarding The Simpsons featuring Bitcoin on.
I just had your avatar update for me. This is great.
Oh yeah. So I guess what happened was the article or the episode wasn't really about Bitcoin per se, but on a news flash, because they were talking about markets, it flashes Bitcoin at infinity, and then it lists GameStop at 1 trillion. So it's just pretty awesome that they're highlighting Bitcoin as infinity. And I like anytime Bitcoin gets a pop culture reference, it just gets it out there, gets people thinking about it, and it's kind of fun. So thank you.
Hell yeah.
So
Hallelujah.
cool. That is so cool. If ever Homer Simpson says hallelujah, then we'll know that we've reached Bitcoin hyper Bitcoinization. Pardon me, but thanks for sharing that fun story, Shelly. I think that's gonna become your like new ethos. Like how there's like the weatherman, there's like the sportswoman, whatever. Like there's
Yeah,
the traffic person. You're gonna have the lighthearted news. Like that's gonna be your
it's my
your
column.
shtick here. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
thank
ready.
you. Thank
Good
you.
stuff, man. Thanks for that, Shelly.
Isn't there a thing
Absolutely.
where like the things that the Simpsons called it, happened on the Simpsons and it actually happened in real life?
Trump got elected. He came down the
Yeah.
escalator.
Well,
Shelley,
that's
we
what.
need, Shelley, we need to
President.
manifest getting Tyler Perry on the
There's more than
Clubhouse
that.
and convince him to say hallelujah one time
Yeah,
for us.
exactly. Have him say it the way that I say it. Yeah, I would love that, and I love that you caught the reference, Aaron. So, and yeah, that was a good point. Anything that ends up on The Simpsons, it seems to become larger than life. People start talking about it, and they, post it up on blogs. So it's bigger than just a little bit of fame. It's gonna probably go down in history.
This is kind of how we get Michael Saylor in rooms, right, Shelley? That's the same mode of like science, right?
Exactly. If I just say hallelujah enough, then Tyler Perry's gonna show up.
Let's get him.
Well done. Well done. Mav,
Hey
what's going
guys.
on?
Well,
We
before
got a
I
new
go,
all-time high, right? Is that what you're going at here? I love it.
yeah, I mean, good. I'm happy that you liked the article because what happened is I originally had a different article which was tied to will banks finally buy into Bitcoin, and then I put my hand down, and then Neil came into the stage and I think brought me up because he saw the article and didn't change it off. So if you don't mind, I'll just run into both of these because I kind of feel like I don't have enough info. And Cal was saying he had like a lower level article kind of thing or whatever he was saying, and I was like, man, I think mine's a little worse. But you good with me running through two articles real fast? It's real fast.
Go for it.
All right, cool. So the first one's from Forbes.com, which I don't have on the PTR, but that was will banks finally buy into Bitcoin, and it was really just the thing I hadn't seen before, which was they were talking about Vast, the bank called Vast Bank. Hold on, let me have it up here. I think they're located in Oklahoma. Give me 1 second. Yeah, one such bank in Tulsa, Oklahoma-based Vast Bank, which completed its first cryptocurrency transaction on behalf of a customer. It has concrete approval by the OCC. This was noted back in July 2020 for a federally chartered bank, and so that's the only one I've come across so far. That's it believes it's the first nationally chartered financial institution to both purchase and provide custody services for a digital asset on behalf of customers and directly from their bank account. So that was kind of interesting because I hadn't heard of that yet. The article that and sorry, let me just double check that I covered everything on that one. Yeah, the OCC letter and vast successful implementation also opens the door for fintech companies to look to broaden their involvement in the space, and then these fintech companies will seek out other partner banks like Vast with experience in the space. So that's something maybe keep on the radar for after that. So now moving on to the Pantera thing.
Hey,
So
Mav,
this
just real quick on the bank. So there are several other banks like Silvergate, Anchorage, Metropolitan Commercial that have done that before. So it's not the first, but it's good news anyway.
and they're federally chartered?
Yes.
Oh, okay, interesting. Okay, so yeah, that was a Forbes.com article. So I guess I don't know, take us for what it's worth. But good to know. The Pantera one is related to the CEO of Pantera Capital, Dan Moorhead. He put out a annual investor letter, April 2020 letter, and he called for 62,968 on 415. So he's basically saying this is getting ridiculous. He called it and he said this Bitcoin rally is exactly like previous halvings, and as a result of that, this is a really small article, he says it's likely to reach 115 as his projection, 115,000 by August. He has it like month after month. He's talking 75,000 by May 15th, 88,000 by June 15th, and so on and so forth. So 115,212 is his price prediction for August 1st.
Wait, Dan Moorhead has these ridiculously precise price predictions. I didn't know this guy. That's great. I mean, the guy's great. Bless his heart for issuing these exact decimal place price predictions. That's just hilarious.
I'll post this in the Telegram group in case anybody wants to take a look at it more. The only thing I don't like is the same article. This is like think on Bitcoin.com goes into like some of the other shit coins in there as well. So I didn't really want to focus on that, obviously. But the thing about that Pantera called it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, Bitcoin.com is really sketchy for accuracy on their news. They just pay a bunch of low-paid writers to just blast out a ton of content. So be careful regarding that news source in particular.
Should I still
they're
post
the
it or should I
worst.
not? Should I still post it or should I not into the Telegram group?
If you find something on Bitcoin.com, you need to verify it somewhere else. I wouldn't trust Bitcoin.com as a primary source.
Yeah, I'd actually rather we don't post any Bitcoin.com links in that Telegram group if possible.
Glad I asked. No worries.
Yep,
Thanks.
thanks.
Aaron, other Aaron, you want to jump in with your story? Because I don't
Sure.
really want to talk about Bitcoin, not com news, so go for it.
Yep, absolutely. So I dropped the article in Telegram. My icon right now just reads, a Bitcoin ETF that will allow investors to be short Bitcoin futures will launch this Thursday. Have fun staying poor. So the article's from Bloomberg, and Horizon is launching a new ETF in Canada. So it'll trade on the TSE that will provide kind of the inverse correlation to the Bitcoin price. So have fun staying poor. I'm wondering if you could short a short ETF. That might be a good way to get some more exposure.
Ooh, I like that.
I'm with you. Have fun staying poor. That's my only commentary. Anybody else want to talk about the disastrous play on shorting Bitcoin?
I've been tracking the amount of shorters on some of the existing exchanges, and they're like all-time lows. Like I think all of them just got liquidated.
You know, the first thing I looked at, I did look to see if Peter Schiff was sponsoring this, but no dice.
Who are these people?
Schiff has actually been relatively silent on the topic of Bitcoin these days. It's refreshing. It feels good.
He finally is digesting that humble pie.
I've learned that silence often is victory. It's all good. Anybody else want to comment on that story before we go to Becca and maybe cover the kimchi bubble?
Only that I own the NFT on silence. So John, you'll have to send me some sets.
I talk too damn much to ever owe you any money at all. There's no chance I'm sending you anything for that.
I probably owe you money at this point.
It's all good, man. Aaron, Becca, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll keep it really quick because I want to hear about the kimchi. So my article was that another European ETF for ETP was approved. This one from Wisdom Tree, and it is launching in Germany. It's the same company that launched the first Bitcoin ETF, which was in Switzerland. So pretty cool over there. Go ahead, John.
For anyone who would comment on that before I jump in? I mean, I know there's been a lot of similar ETF news, so it might be somewhat repetitive, but feel free. I don't want to censor the discussion.
How is Germany so ahead of the world on Bitcoin in like every way? I don't get it. I love it. I don't get it.
There's like no capital gains taxes, right? They can just like do whatever they need in Germany. Is that right?
Yeah, you hold it for a year and then no taxes.
Yeah, Wisdom Tree also refiled for an ETF in the United States. I think that was last week. So they're also trying. They're trying.
Hey, P, you have to comment on the next story because you're now on stage and you're not without a story. So you got to figure out how to talk about the kimchi premium here. No, I'm just kidding. But the kimchi premium, I'll read a little bit of the story, is the spread between Bitcoin price on South Korean exchanges and Western exchanges has always been an indicator attracting people's attention in the bull market. Source of the spread rooted in the inability to easily get substantial amount of USD out of the country due to institutional frictions. Thus, this lack of arbitrage opportunities coupled with huge demand for Bitcoin among Koreans makes Bitcoin trade at a premium on Korean exchanges when speculative frenzy hits the masses. As with any bubble at one point with money inflow stopping, I hate that talk, but there has been a correction to this premium. So it's fallen about 21% to 10% today, and it looks like some of that might be to some of this inflow into Coinbase and some of the other proxies, ETFs, and others. And so it's hard to exactly glean it. They've given a couple of different speculative considerations as to why, but I have actually followed this in the past and passively just as an interested party, and it dropped by more than 51% today. So I found that to be some interesting news, and I just love saying the Kimchi premium bubble. So anywho.
Interesting fact, Sam Bankman-Fried, after leaving Jane Street, did an arbitrage in Japan on the premium that existed at that time for the Bitcoin. It is a very profitable way to make money. Recently, Turkey has traded at, I think, a 50%.
Right, I've heard that story, right?
It's a very consistent premium in Argentina and Venezuela that persists, as well as Nigeria now. So there are places where if you're willing to charter private jets and try having mules and do all that work, then you can capture a premium. But it's a very normal part because of just the regulation in different countries prohibiting people from buying or selling Bitcoin.
Turkish Airlines, really good airline, just saying. No, anybody else want to comment in on the story? I just found it cute and interesting, and I think it's a cool indicator. Maybe perhaps the Coinbase piece was really taking a lot more interest than we probably could have even expected relative to the outsized expectations this week.
I do have one story I want to share after this. One more story.
Why don't you go for it right now? Because we're just past the hour and want to get to dinner, especially since we're talking about kimchi. So let's do it.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody noticed, but today Bitcoin reached a new all-time high. That's my news story.
Yeah, I did see that.
I think I'm the first one to mention it here.
Hey, John, before you eat your kimchi, can I add one more thing?
By all means.
So it's a primary source on Twitter. So if it's not news to you, I'm sorry. But Saifedean had tweeted something, and
I liked it already, but go for it, and then I'll tell you what Saifedean actually means in Arabic.
Nassim Nicholas Tantrum, I didn't even see that, has gone from endorsing my book to obsessively insulting me in public without once making any reference to my work. Why? Because I refused to join him on his insane, cowardly, hysterical crusade to shut down the planet with his friends at the WEF, so the World Economic Forum.
There's a lot to unpack there, and I think we're coming up on time. But maybe someone can drop the link to that tweet thread in the companion chat so folks can check it out.
I've done so already.
And
yes.
for any good Shia, you have to leave him with a hanger. I will tell you what Saifedean means in Arabic tomorrow for those who are too lazy to Google between now and then on the Bitcoin News Hour. Cal, if you text me, I'll give you the answer. Anywho. Appreciate you guys joining. Appreciate the audience participation. This only really works if we crowdsource it. So really appreciate everybody jumping on stage, helping me catch up on the news of the day. Selfishly, that's not why I do this. I'm just kidding. But appreciate everybody and look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern. And if you came on stage, or even if you weren't on stage because you couldn't, but you had a really cool story that's not from Bitcoin.com, feel free to add it to the Telegram group, t.me/Clubhouse Bitcoin. Did I say that backwards, Brecky?
You did. Bitcoin Clubhouse. All good.
Thank you. All right, guys. It's my favorite part of the show.
What a show, folks. Thank you to everyone who contributed and to everyone who listened in. Don't forget to join Cafe Bitcoin by clicking on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left of your screen. And remember to find our full schedule of events at cafebitcoin.club. We hope to see you again next time for the Bitcoin News Hour.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'm trying to end the room. It's not letting me, Brecky. My server's been literally getting red server errors all day. So if someone else can end it. Yeah, I'm just looking at black and white
staying
dots.
Open now.
In 3, 2, 1.
We really should have did a good Ron Burgundy runoff right there. Dustin, can you prepare one for tomorrow's show? We're stuck in here.
Yeah, we might be stuck in here. The damn servers. Damn you, servers.
Hey, P, give us a good Ron Burgundy. Hurry.
I will not buy the XRP. You will buy the XRP. I will not buy the XRP.
I can't even mute myself. So literally, I can't even do the things I want to do in my house. I'm starving right now.
Attempt to end the room one more time. In 3, 2, one.